Our job is an inherently unsafe profession.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
The training needs to somewhat replicate that to a certain extent.
Most dangerous words in the fire service is that's how we've always done it. We're not doing ourselves any favor if we just stick to what we've done for the last 40, 50, 60 years. It's the low frequency, high acuity calls that are the ones that are going to get us in trouble. And those are the ones we should be focusing on, whether it's fire or EMS.
If you make a mistake in training, that's where I want you to make that mistake. Make that mistake in training so that way when we're in a real world situation, you don't make that mistake when there's
Right.
not a potential life on the line. And it's only a mistake if you don't learn something from it.
As always, we got Cody Randall here. Can we just take a couple seconds, Cody, and just kind of lean into the camera a little bit and show off that beautiful stash of yours? I say beautiful because it looks 1,000 times better than it did 2 weeks ago. And we were literally just talking about this.
I mean, it's amazing. The fact that I can even grow facial hair, right?
Let's be honest. It's amazing that your wife has let you keep it this long.
I did tell you that she gave me a half compliment. Right?
No, please share. I want to hear this compliment.
She actually told me it doesn't look as bad as what she thought it would. That's not the word she used, but I'm going to G-rate it for here.
Kind of
Why?
a compliment then.
We never
Yeah,
G-rate anything on this show.
It's annoying. I'm going to shave it off at the end of November. I'm
Just
not a
takes
fan.
time getting used to.
No, I've got, today's the 23rd. I've got a week and it's gone.
Until next November.
I've proven to the children on my shift that I can grow a mustache, half-assed.
Hold on. You didn't just prove it to the children on your shift. You have proven it to so many people in not only the city and the county, but honestly, we have people that listen from other states. You have also proven it to them that you can grow a mustache. So I'm proud of you.
Yeah, it finally looks like I need to shave.
Yeah, and I've known you for 15 years, and honestly, you could have told me that you had never shaved before in your life, and I would have believed you.
That's usually how it works.
Now, on to better mustaches. Introducing Mike Harris. For those that are not familiar with Mike, Mike is a firefighter out of East Central, which is it's east of the city of Fort Wayne, but it's in the city of New Haven. Mike, thanks for jumping on with our ever so world famous podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
So I did something today that I have not done in a hot minute. I went with a buddy of mine from Northwest Fire District. We went and did trap shooting. So I'm going to preface this with I had heard people say, trap and skeet and all that stuff. Never had a clue what that actually meant. And I have shot guns my entire life. I started with a little tiny BB gun, worked my way to a pellet gun, went to a 22 and worked my way up, right? Never knew what trap and skeet was. I always just took a clay pigeon, threw it out in the yard, and shot it with my shotgun.
Right.
It's the base concept of it.
Apparently,
Right.
there are rules involved with trap shooting. Learned that today.
If you're getting into competitive stuff, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we weren't being competitive. Let's just start there. There was zero competition involved today, but it was a lot of fun. And then I had to remind myself how to disassemble my 12 gauge shotgun so that I could clean it properly. That was entertaining, but it was a good time. I enjoyed it.
Does it still work now?
Yes, it does.
Great job.
Honestly,
Did you YouTube it?
it's a Remington, of course. Duh. It's 2025. Damn straight
Absolutely.
I'm going to YouTube it. Honestly, though, it's a Remington. I'm sure there's a way to fuck it up, but everything went back together the way it's supposed to. Everything works the way it's supposed to. Pretty sure it still works. We'll find out next weekend because I'm going back on Sunday.
Is it a pump shotgun or a semi-auto?
No, it's pump.
You can't fuck that up.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I mean, you could argue
I don't
that
even
it's
clean my pump shotgun.
Yeah. It runs better when it's well lubricated with.
Yeah, the rust and the
Right.
powder dust.
Yeah.
The
he
only
likes
ones I
it when
clean are my
when the
semi-autos.
dust hits him in the face every time he discharges the cartridge. He prefers it that way. Hence
Well,
the
it-
mustache.
it builds his mustache up.
Yeah, makes it look darker.
It's been
But
a
yeah.
hot minute since I've been skeet shooting as well. It's quite the challenge.
And that brings up a good point. I still don't understand what the hell skeet shooting is. Like my buddy tried to explain it to me, and the only thing I took away from it is if I'm gonna do skeet shooting, I better have like a double barrel shotgun, like an over under, in order to do it, because otherwise I'm not gonna be able
So
to.
it's simulating birds and then rabbits, like small game across the ground, and then small game flying.
But you do that like trap. The one person goes first, and then another person goes, and then another person goes, and you got like 5 people, right? So each person takes a turn, and you do each round or session is 5, and then you move. Ski, it's 2, right? Because you do high and low. Is that right?
I'm not well versed on it enough to know.
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody will leave a comment explaining to me why I am stupid and don't understand skeet shooting.
I just have the handheld clay thrower that I load up, yeet that clay out in the air, drop it, and then shoot it.
Yep. It's the best way to do it.
Cheaper that way
And-
because I don't have to pay for it.
Oh,
Or I don't
yeah.
have to
And
pay to shoot.
the stupid little handle thing is only like $15. So you just slide it in there. Now, it is easy to break the
$15?
clay
Where are you
pigeons when you're
shopping?
loading it.
Get that crap off Amazon for like
Cheaper now.
$10.
Well, it's fair. It's fair. So yeah, so did that today. Today was my rest day at the gym. Sundays are the only days. So Cody, I know you don't go to the gym, but Mike, do you take rest days?
I
On purpose,
Generally-
I should say.
Yeah. Generally, no. I do what some people consider a active rest day, where I won't have a set game plan when I go to the gym. I might do a Tabata for 30 minutes, or I might jump on the treadmill and run a couple miles, or the stair climber, or my girlfriend and I work out together on our off days. So it's usually whatever we feel like doing. And then when I'm on shift, it's usually a Tabata, or I'll throw all my gear on and do some kind of workout out in the bay or something like that.
I'm following an exercise program at the moment because the app that I use to track all of my meals and crap, it has different programs that you can follow. Normally, because I was doing 75 hard there for a little while, I made it to day 50 and then failed. Regardless, this program has a
You
built-in
made it to
rest
day
day.
50 at least, right, though?
Yeah,
That's true. That's true.
That is a
I did
very
do that.
hard program to follow for 75
It-
days. So.
It is. I'm gonna do it again starting probably middle to end of spring. I'm gonna get it this time. But this program, it has a built-in rest day, and I struggle with rest days because for 50 days straight, I was doing 2 workouts every single day with no rest time, and now I have to figure out what to do on a rest day, and I don't know how to rest. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah,
think I've ever
it's-
rested in my life.
it makes you feel like a lazy bum when you take a
Yeah.
rest day.
Yeah.
That's the way
Hence-
I feel, at least.
Hence why I went shooting this morning because
Right.
I needed something to do.
Yeah, it's after a while, it gets to the point where if you don't get a workout in, you subconsciously just feel bad about yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Cody's favorite workout is leg day because he rides a bicycle all the time.
Long distance cycling. I take rest days all the time.
And he finally learned that he can actually put his seat on his bike. He doesn't have to just ride it on the pole that
Yeah.
sticks up anymore.
I was
Not as
trying to
much
figure out
fun
how to
for
make
you.
it go up and down. Never mind.
Proud of you, Cody.
No,
Proud
I
of you.
love leg workouts because it's all I ever do.
Yeah.
See, I've always been an upper body guy until I started working out with my girlfriend, and she's got me doing legs 2 or 3 times a week, and which is good. But
She's got you working your glutes, trying to get your glutes bigger.
oh
Is
yeah,
that what she's
yeah,
doing to you?
trying to build that booty.
Doing
Yeah,
all those
I have
bridges.
Yeah,
I have always had absolute garbage shoulders from playing baseball, so I always avoided doing any type of upper body stuff.
Was
a
that
kind of
was that baseball league part of the homeschool association?
all right, asshole. No, it was actually a
Just
legitimate
curious.
baseball league.
Okay. All right. What position did you play in baseball?
Center field.
Nice.
At one point in my life, back in my younger days, I could throw somebody out from dead center field at the fence at home plate and not the ball would not bounce when I got to the catcher.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
Hence the fucked up shoulders.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I
You
will
wasted
say
all
that
your shoulder in
you're right.
baseball.
I will say that the city that you are from, though, they have historically been pretty good at baseball. Granted, it's a whole bunch of country boys out there that they don't really have anything else to do. Baseball and football, because basketball is kind of a dying thing in Indiana, it seems.
No, it's predominantly football and baseball heavy in the good old Huntington County. No, but I can't even honestly, the reason why my shoulders are bad is because I tried to take out a catcher at home plate.
From center field, probably at the wall.
Well, no, I was coming around third trying to get an extra run, and I way slower than what I needed to be, and I saw the catcher catch the ball, come around and do this to
You
tag
tried to
me.
truck him.
Oh, common sense would dictate you're out, just let it go. No, I tried to take out this 6'2" catcher that probably had 50 to 60 pounds on me. I hit him like this and bounced off of him like a
Smart.
brick wall.
Smart. Because
And
that's
then
how
bounced.
people hit people.
Yeah. I was trying to knock the ball out of his mitt, really, but I was automatically out because of that.
Yeah, sounds about right.
But when I did that, I actually dislocated both my shoulders, and I popped them back in when I went to push up off the ground to get up.
Yeah. Great feeling.
Yeah.
It hurt really bad.
I bet. And that was in the 5th grade, right? When you were playing against that 6'2" guy?
No, I actually think I was 14, so that'd be what, Pony League?
Oh, okay. So you would have been in high school, maybe? Yeah.
Yeah,
high school.
freshman-ish.
The equivalent of.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Mike, did you play any sports growing up?
I played baseball, football through middle school and high school. And then when I got in my early 20s, I got the brilliant idea that I should race motocross.
Yeah.
I pay for that decision every day when I get
I
out of
bet.
bed. Still have a broken clavicle from my last adventure on a dirt bike, and that was 2001 out in Arizona.
Just
but
don't want to get it
never-
fixed, huh?
It never healed, and I've talked to the doctors, and they said, if you can live with it, you're better off to live with it because your insurance won't pay for the surgery. It's an elective surgery because it doesn't interfere with my lifestyle. So, and to have the surgery, they would have to have like not cardiologist, but the regular surgeon would have to be in there. You'd have to have your pulmonologist in there. You would have to have a vascular surgeon in there because of the amount of vasculature around the collarbone in case they would nick something. And I was like, you know what? I'll just live with it. So it does interfere with some of my workouts, bench pressing and like overhead presses and things like that. I've got to be careful how I move because it will pinch and it'll get nerves and I'll drop weights. But over the years, I've had it so long now that I pretty much know what I can and can't do. And I just don't push the envelope with that. So
I would
and it's
imagine you have the same issue if you're doing like overhead overhaul type maneuvers too then.
It really hasn't affected me too much. I don't know if it's just
that's good.
masked by adrenaline and things like that
Right.
on the fire ground, but it'll be sore after, like I just went to that training in Illinois last Sunday, and we did 12 hours of VES. So wearing an air pack for 12 hours, diving in windows, climbing ladders, pulling victims out of the building. It was definitely sore the next day, but my whole body was sore the next day. So
Right.
I felt every day of my 51 years that next day.
Actually,
I
saw pictures of that training. It looked like it was a really good training.
It was an amazing training. They recreated 9 different actual grabs that happened at different departments. 6 of them, they brought in people that were involved with the grab, so that we had, the one was the engine lieutenant that was involved in the rescue, and he told us the whole story from dispatch all the way through. And they would give us the scenario, and then we would go. And they had live fire going, live victims. So you had the heat, you had actual victims versus dummies that we normally use for that type of training. So it was very good training, very humbling training. I consider myself to be in somewhat decent shape, and I got my butt kicked um, all day long. And I I told my girlfriend we've got to up our cardio game, quit focusing so much on the weights and get more cardio, because it wasn't a strength problem. It was just I was getting gassed by the time you drag 4, 5, 6 people out of a building.
Everybody sleeps on the cardio.
Quit making me do
absolutely.
these glute bridges. I got to do cardio.
Right, exactly.
So me personally, I've always focused more on the cardio aspect of it, because me personally, and my personal experience with it is, I can make my body do whatever I want it to do to a certain extent
Except
if
grow
I've got
facial
the
hair.
yeah, except grow facial hair. If I can maintain that oxygenation or recover very quickly afterwards. So me, I've always focused on the cardio aspect of it, which hence the reason my preferred, workout is I'll go on a 20, 30-mile bike ride and try to beat my own times with it.
I am the exact opposite. I have avoided cardio since college. So I played football in college for a year. And after I was done, I had not done any cardio. I did a little bit here and there, like if I was taking a CPAT test or if I was doing a physical agility test for a police department or something. Obviously, had to do a little bit of cardio involved in that, but I tried to avoid it like the plague, to the point where 2 weeks ago, no, yeah, now 2 weeks ago, I finally started running again. I swear the first day I did it, I saw Jesus. He was looking at me and just kept shaking his head like, what the hell are you doing? But it has gotten easier. I was running 5 days a week, and I was talking to a buddy of mine. And he goes, "What? You're going to gas yourself to the point where you're not going to ever want to do it again." And I said, "I don't want to do it now, but
Right.
I got to do it." So he's like, "Just do a few days on, a few days off. Like it'll come. It'll get there. It'll get there."
So that's where I think rest days are important, is if you're
Yeah.
doing cardio or you're doing cardio heavy stuff, I think you need a rest day here and there.
Well, and the good
Yeah,
news
I
is
absolutely agree.
There's
I
nothing scientific behind that. That's just my own personal opinion.
well, I mean, that's fair. But the good news is I love carbs, and runners need carbs. So it's like I was meant to be a runner because I eat so many carbs. It works out.
Absolutely.
So back to this training. Who was putting the training on?
So it was Brothers in Battle was the group that put the training on. It was hosted by Aurora and North Aurora Fire Department.
Nice.
They have a training center that is owned by a association. So it's not owned by the municipality, so it's not subject to NFPA regulations.
Even better.
Hence why we could get away with having live fire and live victims. Now, the
Yeah.
victims weren't in the same room as the fire. Obviously, it was a canned system set up with, isolated rooms that would have the fire in it to get the heat, and you would get some smoke. But most of them, if the victim was close to the fire room, they would start out with a mannequin. And then once you cleared that area, they would transition to a live victim. So you'd pull the mannequin out so far, drop them, and grab a live victim, and then pull them the rest of the way out. But it was start to finish. I mean, you went in, did your search, found your victims, and the scenario wasn't finished until you had the victims outside on the porch for a handoff to EMS. And
Yeah,
it was
I feel like
pretty awesome.
that's something missing with training in the fire service in general. The rescue Randy dummies that we traditionally train with, or even, the sand-filled dummies that are, little bit more realistic as far as the limpness of what you would come across, is it's really, really, really hard to safely simulate that.
Yeah.
That, you know, the panic involved with you have a real world victim who's, you know, agitated, um, and
Smoke
is
drunk.
panicking. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. You
Well,
can't you can't really simulate that safely, I guess is where I'm going with that. So to be able to even get to a training scenario where, you know, they've added that aspect into it in as safe as manner as possible, I think is a fabulous idea. And it sounds like it was a very good training that they put on, and
Yeah.
that I think anybody would get something out of. If you didn't get something out of that, you yeah.
Yeah.
well, and
It
not only
was,
that, but the majority of I don't know how it was for you, Mike, at this training. Um, Majority of the dummies are like 150 pounds, maybe 175, somewhere like that. There's almost nobody in this country that weighs 150, 175 pounds, unless you're maybe like females, like, but
My driver's license says I weigh 175.
yeah, well, you haven't changed that weight since you were 16 when you got it. But and mine does too, so I can't say much. But like I
My
went to
oldest
a
daughter is 13 years old, and I haven't weighed 175 since she was born.
That's fair. I went to a training the other day for work. So we have, without saying like what it is that my job does, we have there's this contractor that will go and install, if you go into a parking lot and you see the big light poles and it's got the concrete base on there and you're like, I wonder how deep that concrete goes. Well,
Ask
for
Todd Nelson.
those, that's fair. I'm going to make a note right now. I can't. It says on the ambulance the department, so I can't post that picture. I so want to put that picture on there.
I will blur it out for you specifically.
Okay. All right. But so
I
with
have it
like
on my
those
phone
light
somewhere.
poles, like the really big transmission line poles, they do the same thing regardless. So a company comes in and they drill a hole into the ground, right? And it depends on how much weight's going to be on this pole, how much weight the pole is, that sort of thing, is how deep they go. Well, I always wondered, like these contractors, what their rescue plan was. And I've had this conversation with these crews before, like, what do you do if somebody falls into a hole? And the response that I've gotten way more times than I care to admit is, well, we call for the fire department. I said, okay, I mean, that's great. I agree with you. You should, but a lot of fire departments aren't going to go down in that hole, especially if we're talking, 20, 30, 40 feet deep. They're not going to go down there. Like, they don't know anything about that hole. I said, so what's your plan then? So I actually had a company invite me to come watch their training, and I was extremely impressed. So they use this drill rig. It's basically just a giant attachment that goes onto a an excavator, onto a loader, front end loader. They attach it on there and it's got the drill bit, they drill whatever. And if somebody falls in the hole, so this crew trained for three scenarios: for somebody in the hole that's conscious with fall protection on, somebody in the hole that is unconscious with fall protection on, and somebody in the hole that is conscious without fall protection. They won't train for the unconscious and no fall protection because that's the only one that they really feel like they need to rely on, like a sort team or some kind of special operations team. But they took this pulley system and they hooked it onto the rig, and then they use this connecting device that basically has teeth, and it hooks onto the sling that they were connected to for their fall protection, and they use it like a pulley system and they start pulling them up until they're up high enough where they can attach an emergency rope and then pull them the rest of the way out of the hole. Seems simple enough. I mean, makes sense, but
right.
I've always been curious of how they did it. Well, they were training with a 150-pound dummy, and I said, there is not a person in the construction field that weighs 150 pounds. I can guarantee it. They are either extremely muscular and they're built like 240, 250, or they're not and they're built 240, 250 plus. They're not 150. So it always made me chuckle. Even in the fire service, we had a dummy at my old department, and it was 150 pounds. And I'm like, what is this teaching me? Carry a light
Yeah,
person, carry a baby around? Like,
exactly. And that's great for rescuing kids and small females. But yeah, we are terrible in the fire service about training unrealistic.
It's
And I
great to
understand.
get the fundamentals down,
Correct. Yeah.
agreed.
but
Agreed.
that's about it.
Yeah.
But it's like anything else. You get the fundamentals down, that's awesome, but you have to start. It's just like going to the gym. At some point, you have to realize, okay, I need to increase weight. I need to increase my resistance. I need to increase something so that I'm
Increase the
actually
challenge
starting
level.
to improve instead of just being stagnant. Just like
Yeah.
if you're watching, like you're actually counting your macros, that's great. Let's say you're losing weight and you have your macro set. Well, when you get to a certain weight, at some point you're going to have to readjust your macros because you're just going to be in maintenance at that point. So you constantly
Right.
have to readjust in everything that you're doing, training, whatever, or you're just going to stay stagnant.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. And I understand from a safety aspect, a lot of departments don't want to use the 250, 300-pound mannequins because they don't want someone blowing their back out during training. But if we don't train for it, we're not going to perform when it's game time.
So I've said it before, not necessarily on this podcast, but I will say it again. Our job is an inherently unsafe profession.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
So the training needs to somewhat replicate that to a certain extent.
I will
Agreed.
also add to that that there is not a job in the fire service. Okay, maybe fire inspector, but there is not a job in the fire service that is a one-man pony show. It is a team effort in everything that you do, or it
Right.
should be a team effort in everything you do. So it's not one person. And even if it's a down firefighter in a structure fire, okay, somebody calls Mayday or somebody walks up and finds their partner down or whatever, and they're unconscious. Yeah, you're going to call it out and you're going to try to start moving them to safety. But at the end of the day, I would hope that you would be smart enough to get on your radio and say, I need one or two or three extra bodies to help me get this guy out of this fire. It
Yeah.
shouldn't just be a one person show.
No, I absolutely agree with that. Yeah. We
Well,
have done a lot of man down, firefighter down training, and it's usually 3 or 4 guys. Um, we have a training house right now that's got a 3,000 square foot basement and a 3,000 square foot first floor. And we did RIT training out of the basement. And it was everything for 4 guys to get one of our normal guys out of that basement and up the stairs in full gear and SCBA. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
I will say I have done training with your department in the past, and you guys put on amazing training. Like you guys, that whole department, everybody there has always put on amazing trainings. And I have always taken something away from it.
I've
For
been a
sure.
part of some of that before.
Yeah.
I can remember the school that I went through for my paramedic will probably have a freaking stroke if they ever actually watch this, because I can remember a couple times where I was out there doing clinicals with you specifically. And
Yeah.
oh, hey, we had a call off. We need one extra guy in our scenario. Did you bring your gear with you? Yeah. What are we doing? I'm like, we're gonna cut holes in a commercial flat roof. I'm like, hang on. And it wasn't just get up on the roof and cut holes in it and just be done. It was a whole scenario that included fire attack and ventilation coordination, and
Yeah.
it was a kind of a quickly put together training for the day, but it was a good training. And I will admit that even on my shift I try to emulate that to a certain extent, and I fail miserably a lot.
It's hard some
So
days. A lot of it depends on your crew and your run volume and things like that. Currently, I'm out at Station 5 out in Woodburn, and normally we're lucky if we have 4 people out there. So sometimes it's hard to do a large scale training like that. I mean, we still do trainings every shift of some sort, but when you've got 6, 8 people, you can put a larger training on. It makes it a lot easier. to facilitate that.
We had a guy on the show 2 weeks ago. He's a firefighter out in New Hampshire, and he was preaching on training hardcore. Like, he is a huge advocate for training, but his big thing is he believes, and I think you're kind of in the same boat. He believes that it's just as important, if not more important, than train outside of your zip code. He tries to go to as many conferences and different things that he can y- all over the country to participate in different things because he wants to learn different ways to do stuff. And I
Absolutely.
I think that's awesome. And in fact, I took one of his. I made some short reels and posted, and some of the stuff that he talked about got some of the most views, like on TikTok and YouTube and all that, than some of my other stuff. He hit the nail on the head on a lot of things.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm a huge advocate for getting outside the four walls of your department. You know, interdepartment trainings are absolutely fundamental. We have to train together because we're going to work together. But there's more to the fire service than just what we know. And the most dangerous words in the fire service is that's how we've always done it, right?
Yep.
So we're not doing ourselves any favor if we just stick to what we've done for the last 40, 50, 60 years. There's so much to learn out there in the world. And we've got quite a few guys at our department that do go to outside trainings and they bring that stuff back. And, some of it we can fit into our department. Some of it doesn't work quite as well for our department just because of the way we staff and respond,
Sure.
but it's still good to get out there. I mean, I go to several outside trainings a year. I just got back from that one in Aurora. The next day after that, I was in Lafayette for a training. In January, I'm going to Pensacola, Florida for a week, down to Chief Ike.
That sounds miserable.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Fire officer boot camp by chance?
It's officer development program.
Is it like first week of January?
It starts on the 5th and runs through the 9th.
I'll be there.
Nice.
There you
Why,
go.
a lot of people from Allen County that are going. I keep hearing more and more people that are going. So,
That's
yeah,
good.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be a good training. And then, firemanship conference in Aurora, which is usually the second week of July. That's a huge one. They have, you know, all the big name instructors from all over the country come there. And even outside of the country, I was there on their inaugural one in 2024. They used to have the firemanship conference out in Portland, and then they just started doing it again. COVID kind of killed it out in Portland. They just started doing it again in Aurora. Jeff Bryant, who's on Aurora Fire, is one of the top guys with Brothers in Battle, and he was a huge part in bringing that back and thankfully brought it closer to us. But I mean, just absolutely great training, both hands on and speakers. It's amazing the things you can learn just by getting outside of your department. And then, the big thing is we got to bring that back and we've got to pass that knowledge on to the members of our department because it's not easy for everybody to take off for a week. They've got families, they've got kids. My kids are grown. I have a girlfriend and a German Shepherd, and my girlfriend is in law enforcement. So she's very understanding and very supportive on the training aspect and me being gone all the time. Granted, I have to make it up when I get home, but she understands and that's huge. That's something that, especially as an officer, I feel like it's part of my duties to learn these things and bring them back and share them with my crews and with my department and even other departments. We talked prior to the beginning of the podcast about me working part-time at Southwest Fire as well. And I'll go out there, and when I'm on shift out there, I'll put on trainings for those guys. So yeah, I'm a huge proponent on doing training as much as possible.
I think one of the best trainings I ever got, this was probably 2012, 2013, but I did a 24-hour shift with Chicago Fire.
We
I
don't.
was at their engine house that we were at was in Englewood. So pretty extremely busy station, and one of the oldest stations. I don't even know if that building is still there. They may have replaced it already, but it was one of the oldest engine houses left in the city. And it was freaking phenomenal. But we had 23 calls in 24 hours, with
Yeah.
20 of them being like EMS calls.
Right. Of
But
course.
we had a structure fire, and when you get there, I don't even know if you can still do a ride along with them anymore. I would think you can, but they tell you that when you're doing the ride along, you're supposed to be with the battalion chief the whole time. You can't fight fire, you can't go do anything on a car accident scene or anything like that. Yeah,
Purely observation.
they said screw that. Like the first hour that I was there, I was going back and forth between being on the truck and being on the engine. The structure fire had every intentions of just standing there and watching them. I mean, I brought my gear, I brought all my stuff, but just standing there watching them. And they're like, "Hey, let's go. You're going to fight this fire." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Let's go, grab your stuff." So mind you, this was 13 years ago. I'm going to grab my air pack, and he's like, "What are you doing?" So get my air pack. Let's go fight this fire. And he goes, "We don't have time for that. Put that down. Let's go." I mean, it was a room and contents fire. It's not a fully involved thing, but I was like, okay. I was coughing up soot for a week because
Yeah.
it was thick. They do things. It seems like everybody does things a little bit different, but they, so their homes, they're all apartments. They're 3-story apartments, right? And this room and contents fire was up on the 3rd floor. They obviously instantly set up 2 ladders. They have a ladder in the back for emergency egress, and then they use their ladder truck, put that one up to get onto the roof so they can ventilate. But they knock out every single window in that building that minute. Like, as soon as they get on scene, first thing they're doing is they're knocking every single window out. I'm like, I guess you can't have a backflash if you don't have anything open when you don't want it to, because everything's already open. So,
Prior
but it
to
was wild.
water on the fire, they did that.
Prior to water on the fire, I was like,
Wow.
and I asked him, I was like, why do you
I think science
out-
argues that that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
but it's old school mentality. It was
Yeah.
legit old school mentality. And that's, if Chicago doesn't have anything, it's tradition. That is what they live by. They live by their tradition. And now, again, I'm gonna say this was 13 years ago. I don't know that
Right.
they still do it that way anymore.
I'm sure their tactics have changed.
Break
I
out
would
those
hope-
freaking knee-length coats and
Yeah.
hip-length boots
Yeah.
and
3/4 boots and
But it was cool as shit. It was cool watching it, and even getting to go in and fight the fire with them. I think that was awesome. I think another training that I did that I highly recommend, even if you don't have any intentions of ever being an arson investigator, is go and get your fire investigator cert. Take
Yeah,
that class,
absolutely.
because it is a blast. You actually like learn fire behavior more than a fire behavior class. You learn you learn everything on how to figure out where a fire started to how it started and everything in between. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've got my investigator, and it was a very educational class, both for the investigation aspect and the fire behavior aspect.
Who taught yours? Did you go down
Candace
to Indy
Ash.
for it? Yes.
Candace, she actually came up to Bluffton. It was when I was on Bluffton,
Nice.
and she came up and did the class up there in Bluffton, and she's awesome. I love Candace.
She is awesome. I actually tried sending her a message. It's been a couple weeks or a couple months. I tried sending her a message to get her on the show. She read it and didn't respond back. So I'm going to send her a message again, but she is awesome. She did a great job teaching that class.
Oh yeah.
What do you got, Cody?
not a whole lot, if anything. I was
Yeah,
late
if it
getting on
doesn't-
here, so
Yeah. If it doesn't involve paramedic, you don't have anything to do with it.
right now.
Although you are allowed to drive the ladder truck now, so there's that. That's good.
technically no.
Still can't.
I would like to
Even
point out
with
I would like to point out that wearing of this shirt is completely coincidental.
yeah, because he doesn't own a pontoon boat. So
No, this
Has nothing
I
to do with the
can't-
name.
No,
On the training side of things, I think with Cody being, what's your exact title, Cody? Are you
so
captain or chief of EMS?
my exact title is EMS captain, but
Here we go.
I get thrown into all kinds of different roles because of the fact that we don't have enough staffing. So I'm currently operating as a OIC on the truck.
Okay.
That's
I'm
funny.
in charge of the shift.
I don't see any hiring posts from your department at the moment.
We
It's
just
weird.
hired 6 guys.
You
And we're
can
doing an
hire
officer
again.
process.
That's good.
But I think we fail in fire-based EMS on a lot of our training on incorporating the EMS side of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
And I know, we talked about how guys that are more lean towards the fire side and guys that lean towards the EMS side. But at the end of the day, they're both our job, right? And we've got to be proficient at all of it. I always argue with guys the fact that, on EMS call, if you mess up, you might kill one person, maybe two. On a fire scene, if you mess up, you could kill one or two crews or more. But that doesn't negate the fact that we need to do better and train more
No,
on
I think
all
you hit on a
aspects of our
really,
job.
really good point there. In that, you have the EMS crew has one patient. You're focused on that patient. If you mess something up, not saying that it's good, but you have one person to potentially harm. If you're sitting in that officer seat on that truck, first out, second out, what have you, you could potentially, I don't know how you guys operate out of your department, but I could potentially be the IC of that incident for a period of time, if not the entirety of it, if the chief level command isn't, if they don't wake up in the middle of the night and respond from home. So that ambulance has responsibility for, themselves and one patient. Sitting in that officer seat, you have the responsibility and the potentiality to, you're 100% correct. You could kill 3 guys, you could kill 6 guys, you could kill 12 guys, and it's a responsibility that I don't think a lot of people comprehend or even realize. They want I want to sit in that seat and call myself an officer, and there's a lot more to it than just calling yourself an
Yeah.
officer.
It's not even just that. It was like what we were talking about before we started recording is you get people who they go to school to become an EMT or a paramedic because that's what they want to do. They want to be a paramedic. They want to be on an ambulance. And on the flip side, you get people that go into the fire service because that's what they want to do. They want to do the fire side. They don't necessarily want to switch, at least not all of them. There's a lot that do, obviously, but paramedic doesn't necessarily want to go do the fire side, and firefighter doesn't necessarily want to be on an ambulance. But we need to kind of work on changing that mentality because it's no secret that at least 80% of the calls that we get in the fire service are medic calls. They're medical calls.
I would say specifically my department, I would probably say the same thing with Mike's department. 85 to 90% of the incidents that we respond to are EMS.
Yeah,
correct.
Absolutely.
But not even
those 10% of those fire runs, you even have a smaller percentage of that. Maybe, your 0.3, 0.2% that are, those are major incidents.
agreed.
Do you train consistently for something you do all the time more, or do you train for that high stress incident that might not necessarily occur more than once, 2, 3 times a year? So that way you're ready for it. So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, I agree with that.
100%. But I think the other thing to keep in mind though is just because it's a fire call doesn't mean that there couldn't be the potential of a medical incident taking place at the same time. Let's be honest, that's a huge factor that could occur. You could have a patient inside the house. You could have a firefighter that goes down. You could have a million different things go on. You could have a bystander that's standing right there and all of a sudden they go into cardiac arrest or something. There's a million different things that can occur on any scene. Can you train for every single possible scenario? Absolutely not. There's no freaking way.
No,
There's
yeah,
so many different scenarios out there, it would be impossible. But you need to know like the basic stuff. It's like we were talking about earlier. You
That's
need
why
to
you
at
train on
least
the
have the
fundamentals.
basics, have the basic fundamental stuff down and build on that over time. If that means that you're doing a fire training and you decide, yeah, this is, we're doing, I don't know, we're spraying water. Well, maybe just incorporate a little bit of EMS into that somehow. It doesn't have to be anything extravagant. You don't have to run a mega code and be like, here we go.
right.
Then that kind of leads me into this is I can't I can't train somebody to be prepared and expect every possible scenario they might run into a cardiac arrest, right? But I can train them to be really good at doing a cardiac arrest.
Right.
The rest of it'll fall into place as it needs to be. So it's the fundamentals. So I know my guys particularly, they complain all the time because oh, we just did this or we did this last month or we did this 3 months ago. Okay, cool. Show me that you know it. Show me that you learned something from the last training. Prove to me that you some of that absorbed into your brain.
Exactly. Because it's the low frequency, high acuity calls that are the ones that are going to get us in trouble. And those are the ones we should be focusing on, whether it's fire or EMS.
Correct. And those are kind of what we tend to train on because oh, we never see that or we rarely see that. So let's train, let's train, let's train. Yeah, we do cardiac arrests all the time. We're good with that. I know how to do a CPAP. We do that all the time. And then when that actually push comes to shove and that we actually have to do it, oh shit, I forgot about it.
Right. It has to become that muscle memory. It's just like anything. I'm sure your girlfriend would agree on the police side. But if you don't train for the worst case scenario, when the worst case scenario happens, your body is not going to know how to react. If you sit there and you push it over and over and over again, where it becomes second nature, it's that muscle memory, there's really no thought involved in it. Like, oh crap, this person doesn't have a pulse. They're not breathing. I know exactly what to do. And next thing you know, you've got an IV started. You've already got a tube in place. You've already shocked them once, and you're like, what the hell just happened?
Doesn't matter the scenario involved, you know what you need to do.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep. Make
So
it
despite
realistic. You got to make that training realistic. Like again, we talked about the fundamentals. Yeah, go over the fundamentals, do the bookwork crap that you got to do. That's fine. If you're doing something like pump operations and you need to talk about whatever the rules are these days, you need to talk about stuff like that. Yeah, do the bookwork crap. But when it comes time to doing the hands-on stuff, build your way up, but make it realistic. It tends to stick a lot more.
as realistic as you can make it because unfortunately
Agree.
it doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, Mike's training that he went to a couple weeks ago or last week or whenever it was, I don't quite remember. Sounded like just about as realistic as you could possibly make, doing, victim rescues and victim grabs. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
To a certain extent though, there's only so much realism that you can add.
Agreed.
Even with all these fancy, high fidelity sim mannequins that, EMS simulators,
But it doesn't have to be,
it's still
the
it's still a mannequin,
technology,
it's still a dummy.
you don't have to have the latest and greatest technology to make something realistic in somebody's brain. We used to put on training for my wife and I at our department. We used to put on like car accident scenarios. And all we would do is take two vehicles and we would maneuver them in different ways. We'd make it like a T-bone accident. We'd make it like the only thing we didn't do is we didn't flip it over because we still had to drive the damn thing. But we would make these different scenarios and then we would put patients in the vehicle and we would have them kind of mangle themselves up a little bit. It wasn't perfect. I mean, it wasn't like an actual car accident scene that I've been on several thousand times, but you put somebody in there and then you make it stressful. You put somebody like my wife in there. Mike, I think you've met my wife once or twice. She can
Yeah.
be really loud. So you put
That's
her,
her default.
yeah, 100%. You put her in this car and tell her, okay, I want you to be a patient. She takes that to the next level and she is like screaming bloody murder, all these different things to try to make whoever's doing the training uncomfortable, because that's what you want. You want to put them in an uncomfortable situation when they're in training so that when the real world scenario occurs, they feel more comfortable doing it.
So I'm going to
Absolutely.
counter that, and I'm going to give you some information that might make you think with certain aspects
I
of it.
try not to think.
I'm not saying, a car accident scenario, but we're going to use, this is actually a class I sat through down at EMS World. When you're talking about specifically the EMS aspect of it, we'll use airway skills as an example. They actually did a long-term study about the retention of knowledge, whether, high fidelity mannequins in a realistic scenario, your traditional mannequin setup, or even just sitting a mannequin out on the table and saying, "Hey guys, play with this." Which method actually caused a greater retention of skills and knowledge over a course of time?
Hands on.
Which one do you think actually worked better?
The second one.
It was actually the third one. Set a mannequin out and let guys play with stuff.
Because they're
Well,
going
yeah,
to
because
do reps on it.
it's hands on. They're building that reputation, that repetition,
Because
repetition by putting their hands on it.
and they're doing it of their own free will on their own time.
Yeah, yeah,
You're not, because one of the biggest hurdles that I have with training is people worried that they're going to look stupid or that they're going to fail.
100%.
Me, that's what the point of training is. I want to look stupid and I want to fail in training, so that way in the real world scenario I cannot be, the stupid guy that fails. But you have that big hurdle that some people have to get over with that aspect of training, is that when you have that formal training in that formal setting, people feel like they're being tested and they don't want to look stupid and they don't want to fail. Whereas if you just set something out and said, "Here guys, play with this." There's no expectation of, doing this appropriately necessarily. It's organic. Let's play with it. And the retention of knowledge from that is actually greater than if you throw somebody in a high stress scenario and make them do skills. I'm not saying that doesn't have its place. Absolutely, it 100% does have its
Sure.
place, because once you gain confidence in your skills, okay, let's see you do them in more of a realistic environment.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with that. Once you have the basics down pat, then you start rolling in the stress inoculation and adding those factors in. But if you take someone who has little to no experience or little to no time doing their skills and throw them right into the high stress situation, they're going to fail, and then they're going to get nervous the next time that it comes up. They've
Well,
got
they're,
to
they're going to
build
get
that confidence.
they're going to get frustrated, and they're going to be like, shit, I can't do this right. Everybody else did it. And I guess I should have led with that. Like, the group of guys that we were training, we had done this situation several times before. But yeah, I agree. Like, you don't, and I think we've all been in that situation, right? Like, when you're brand new into the field, and it doesn't even matter what job you're doing, you could be a brand new working at a bank. But when you're brand new, you're nervous, right? You want to make a good first impression. You want to do everything right. You understand that you don't know everything. I think what, to kind of piggyback off of that, I think what we need to remember as leaders too is that somebody who's only been on the job for a year or 2 years is not much better at the job than somebody who is brand new. You can't know everything within your first couple years, and you still kind of have to hold their hand a little bit and walk through them with stuff on training. You can't expect a person with 2 or even 3 years, because there is science that shows that it takes a little bit of time for somebody to become proficient at something, and it's usually a few years.
Yeah, and I'm very big on the aspect of, I'm perfectly okay if you fail in training. I don't even like to call it failing necessarily. If you make a mistake in training, that's where I want you to make that mistake. Make that mistake in training, so that way when we're in a real world situation, you don't make that mistake. When there's not a potential life on the line, and it's only a mistake if you don't learn something from it. If
Exactly.
you mess something up in a training scenario, or even in a real life scenario, if you mess something up, if you learn something from that and you don't then repeat it in the future in that same scenario, you've just
Absolutely.
bettered yourself.
Yep.
Agreed.
It's not a failure. It's not necessarily even a mistake. And now, if you repeat that same mistake over and over and over again, we're going to have a different conversation. But fail in training so that way you're successful in real life.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%.
I would say, again, that goes with any job. It's not just fire, it's not just EMS. And I think we have, specifically in fire and EMS, we have a rough time because, especially if you work for a department or an agency that is a very high volume, fast paced environment, you want to you're telling yourself that you want to understand this stuff quicker. You want to be like that guy that's been on the job for 10 years. You want to be able just to act and not have to think about stuff. And I think we really need to take the time and push younger people, younger people in that are in the field to understand that it's going to take some time. You're going to fail. And like Cody said, failure is not bad. Even I would even take it a little bit farther, like 2 times at the same thing, but more than that, there's an issue. You need to start taking some initiative and understanding why you keep making the same mistake.
Leadership needs to have the ability to check their ego at the door for that.
Agreed.
100%. And we've had this conversation on this show before that ego is rampant in this field.
Because I guarantee you, if I got put on the same crew as Mike Harris probably knows more about me more about a lot of stuff than I do. And I would probably look at Mike and say, "Hey, Mike, what do you want to do?"
Yeah. Agreed.
You know,
Agreed.
and there's probably stuff that he would say, "I have no idea what I don't know. What do you think?"
But
You
I
know, and
also like to get that, you know, input from my guys, regardless of how long they've been on, because they may have something in their Rolodex, their index of things that they've encountered, going to trainings, working at other departments, things like that, that I don't. So, you know, where you said check your ego, that's huge for an officer. You've got to do that. Like, just because you have a bugle or multiple bugles doesn't mean you know everything. And the day that you think that is when you're putting a lot of people in danger.
yeah, I mean, ultimately, does it mean you're responsible for that particular crew? Yes. Does it mean that you're the one that knows everything? And my word, the way I want to do it is holy writ? No.
No. But there's too many officers that do feel that way, unfortunately.
Yes. I think we need to do an episode just hitting ego hard. Like just
Bury it.
bursting some people's egos as much as we possibly can. I have some people in mind that we could get involved in that conversation. It would be a
I'm
lot
sure
of
we
fun.
could all come up with a list.
Well, okay, let me be a little more
I
specific.
I have my own specific lessons from my younger years in leadership that lead me to
When I
this
say
conclusion.
when I say have some people on the show, I mean people that love to burst ego bubbles, not people that have big egos. I do have that list too, but I guess from a standpoint of being a new person, I can kind of announce this. I will be the new person here sounds like starting on Monday because I'm getting back into the fire service. This is all going away
Golf
with the
claps.
exception of this.
Golf
This will
clap.
stay. Yeah.
Absolutely. Welcome
I was
back.
telling I was telling Mike before you hopped on, Cody, that I told Keegan that I was gonna be getting back in the fire service, and he was all excited until I told him that I had to shave my beard. I'm not sure which person was more disappointed, him or my wife, but they were equally disappointed. So let's see how it goes.
Well, welcome back to the fire service, sir. I knew you wouldn't stay gone forever. Once it
I
gets in your
try,
blood, it's
man.
hard to get it out.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
like cocaine. Not that I know what cocaine is like, but it's very similar, I would imagine. You can't get away from it.
Nope.
So, but yeah, that's that game plan. Well, we're at an hour, boys, and we've been doing pretty good at trying to keep these shows around that time. Mike, do you have any final words of wisdom that you want to leave us?
Just appreciate you having me on here. And, you know, I think we hit some good topics and and had a lot of good discussion about training. And, I know Cody just from the interactions I've had with him. I know he's big on training and, you know, keep pushing your departments, keep pushing your people to get better. We all raised our hand and took that oath, and we need to uphold it. And we're not going to do that if we're not pushing ourselves to get better. So just keep pushing.
Agreed. Cody,
Cardio is important. Don't sleep on cardio, and check your ego at the door.
God, I wish I could sleep on cardio still. I did tell somebody the other day when I was telling them that I was starting to run again. And I'm like, I don't understand how people enjoy running. Like,
I
this
don't
shit
run. I hate
sucks.
running. Running makes me feel like I'm dying. Cycling is enjoyable.
They gave me the standard runner response of it gets better.
No, it
Just
doesn't.
give it some time.
It
Wait
doesn't.
till you get
Lies.
that runner's high, because a runner high, that doesn't even make sense. I'm sure I'll
Yeah.
get comments on that shit too, but whatever.
It doesn't get better. It just sucks more because you just, hey, look, I can do this in 5 minutes. Let's try to do it. Let's try to run for 6 minutes. No, it just gets worse. Cycling is much.
Absolutely.
Let's get you. We'll get you on. We'll get you on a
Have you been-
bicycle.
Have you been watching me run? Talking about running for 5 minutes. Have you been watching me?
I've experienced myself running. My wife does it all the time. She runs freaking half marathons for fun.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she can still kick your ass. So there's that.
Yeah.
My idea
No.
of cardio has always been lifting weights faster. But
That
as
is
I
not
get
the
older,
same.
yeah,
That's not the same.
I got to share this story. So I go to a gym. You can pretty much guess what kind of gym it is because it's close to my house and it's extremely cheap. And they used to offer pizza and donuts to the members on certain days of the week.
and you
But-
can't grunt.
Where's
you
where's
can't
this?
grunt.
Where's this gym that offers pizza?
They don't do it anymore. They stopped doing it after COVID. But regardless, there's this guy that comes in like every other day when I'm there, and he runs the gauntlet of the building. And I can't help but smile every time. So he'll go over to the dumbbells and let's say he's just going to do curls. And I shit you not, this is how he does curls. And then he sets it
2.5
down.
pound weights.
No, well, no.
I can do
it's
that
like,
quick with 2.5 pound weights.
it's like 30-pound weights. But then he'll go over to the lat machine and he'll start doing pull downs and he's like going really fast. And he does that at every situation that he's in. And I'm like, how the hell do you do that? You're not getting anything out of it. But
I think every
does it.
gym has one of those guys.
it
Doesn't help you with strength training, and it doesn't help you with cardio either.
Right.
No,
You're just
no.
looking a fool.
You're trying to hurt yourself actively at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
So
But it's
come
funny.
spring, Mr. Burns, we'll find you a bicycle. Because I won't say bike, because then you're going to tell me that
I got one. I got two.
Yeah.
I don't have a real bike. Mine's pedal power. We'll get you
Speaking
out
of
doing
bikes,
20.
Mike, did you get yours back up and running after the
Yeah. Yep. I had to replace the clutch cable. I had it back up and running the next week. So
Awesome. Sorry, Cody.
So-
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, so just a funny story since you both ride real bikes. So in the spring, every year our Cola Catholic or our Cola Church does the blessing of the bikes, right?
Yep.
So I just so happened to decide that was an appropriate route to ride 40 miles out to my in-laws on the west side of Columbia City and back on my bicycle. So as I'm riding past, because I chose to take our Cola Road out through Whitley County, I'm like, oh shit, real bikes. And as I'm riding up to it, the guy that's directing traffic is looking at me and he's smiling. And he has to ask me as I'm going by, are you here for the blessing of the bikes? And just laughs at me.
You should have said yes and pulled
Yeah.
in.
you
Like,
absolutely
nope,
should have.
I'm going that way.
I'm
Going
getting
that
you
way.
a bell. I'm going to get you a bell that
have
we put
one.
on our motorcycle.
A gremlin
No.
bell.
A gremlin bell that you could put on your bike.
I don't know what that is.
I'll show you later. But I'm getting
Mine's a
you
little
one.
electronic little thing that dings. So when I'm on the trails,
Yeah,
I can
not-
hit it. And
Not that stupid thing. I'm getting you a basket that goes with that stupid thing. That's not what I'm talking about.
No.
I'm talking about a
No.
gremlin bell.
my road bike was not made for baskets.
I used to be a fabricator. We can make it work.
Let's do it. I'll steal his bike. I'll bring it over. We'll work on it. We'll get it done. And we'll get it back to him. He won't
You'll
even
steal
know.
my bike. I'll shoot your ass. That's a $3,200 bicycle.
Holy
Good luck.
shit.
You'll be at work when it happens, and your wife will help me. All right, guys. That's all we got. Appreciate y'all.
You guys
See you
have a
next
good
time.
night.
Yep.
You too, bud. Thanks.
Thanks.